First and foremost, you must know that yes, there are ways to hide your assets from creditors, divorce, and lawsuits, and you can do it legally. So I'm going to tell you exactly what you can do to keep everything you've worked so hard for. You need to take this action early, however, to avoid the suspicion of defrauding a creditor. In other words, it is best to act as soon as possible. Now, there are a few ways to protect yourself after the fact. However, don't wait until your opponent asks the judge to freeze your assets mid-lawsuit before you decide to transfer them into a trust or other asset protection entity. Then it would be too late. But it's not too late to click the like button below so YouTube promotes this video, and I'd really appreciate it. And if you haven't already, you can also click the subscribe button below so that when more videos come out like this one, you'll be up to date right away. To give you a little background, I've been in the asset protection field since 1991, and our company started in 1906. And as of this video, I believe we have about 102,000 clients in our database, and we are the leading asset protection firm nationally. So feel free to call us for a free consultation. Okay, we'll talk about how to move assets legally and how to keep them safe. Now, just to be clear, this organization utilizes a multitude of techniques. Some hide assets, others actually protect assets. Now, what's hidden can be found, but what's protected, even if it's discovered, is still protected. And we think that's what most people want anyway. Asset protection. Now, many people search the internet using the word hide, and that's what may have led you here. So that is the main reason we use both the words protect and hide. Now, let's talk about options. So to hide or protect your assets from lawsuits and creditors, there are a couple of obvious options for you. For your personal assets, such as your home, you can hide your ownership in a land trust. And your cars, you can hide in title holding trusts. These documents can keep your association with these items out of the public records. Now, there are several types of domestic trusts discussed in detail on our website. Now, domestic trusts do offer better protection for your personal assets than no trust at all. But since domestic courts have power over domestic trusts, we have seen many of them penetrated. So the safest and most secure place for your liquid assets is an offshore asset protection trust. And one of the most effective legal tools is the Cook Islands Trust. This trust has been court tested and has a case law proven track record showing that it effectively protects assets. And the reason is this: our international law firm that acts as trust company resides outside of the jurisdiction of your local courts. Therefore, they are not subject to your local court orders. Demands to repatriate funds fall on deaf ears. The trustees are reputable, licensed, bonded, insured international law firms with long-standing track records for safeguarding assets. Inside of the offshore trust, we place an international LLC. You hold bank accounts in the name of the LLC. You are the manager of the LLC and the initial signatory on all the bank accounts until you need our law firm to step in to protect you. Business entities. If you do own a business, it is usually wise to establish a business entity such as a corporation or an LLC. Corporations and limited liability companies act as barriers between your business life and your personal life. They provide protection that sole proprietorships or partnerships don't offer. And it so happens that this organization has expertise in setting these up too. So if you own a business and you have not yet created an entity for it, right now might be the time while it's on your mind. This needs to have been done last week for your and your family's protection. Now, the main takeaway here is that these processes are best, but not necessarily started before a lawsuit begins. If attempting to deprive creditors at the last minute, after someone files a lawsuit against you, know the courts will take an interest in your recent asset transfers. They may see the last minute moves as fraudulent conveyance. Now, keep in mind, fraudulent conveyance is generally a civil matter and not a criminal one. We have never had a client go to jail for it. Still, this is why addressing your asset protection today can be crucial to your financial safety. If somebody has already served you with a lawsuit, or you know one's on the way, you can still institute an asset protection strategy, but know it is better, much better, to do so beforehand. Move swiftly. Moving your assets now or before any hint of legal trouble can help you keep them safe and secured. Specifically, using offshore trusts and other asset protection entities makes it even more difficult for domestic financial predators to encroach on your wealth. The best part is this: it's perfectly legal. And if something is legal and you're better off doing it than putting it off, it might just be the time to take action. An example. Let's create a little scenario and paint a picture to show how this is done. We'll do this before bogging you down with the technical aspects of it all. Let's say that Jonathan has $930,000 worth of assets. These include home equity, funds in a savings account, and a paid-off Mercedes-Benz. What Jonathan needs to do with these personal assets is to put them in proper legal tools. You can place the home in a land trust and mortgage it to the hilt. You can put the Mercedes into a title holding trust and borrow money using it as security. The liquid assets, including the proceeds from the two assets mentioned here, are placed into an offshore asset protection trust. And he's smart because he's doing it now before he can even fathom a lawsuit coming his way. He reads the literature and knows the Cook Islands Trust, for instance, proves itself effectively and consistently protects assets. The challenge is that many people who are not facing imminent lawsuits scratch their heads until they bleed, trying to understand every last detail. We call it paralysis by analysis. That same person gets sued and keeps scratching right through his or her skull until the lawsuit seizes and freezes their assets. At that point, once their assets are frozen, there's nothing we can do to protect them. And that same person will have a $1,500 TV hanging on the wall, pick up the remote, and turn it on with no idea how that picture gets up there on the screen. They're not sitting there with a screwdriver, opening up the box, trying to figure out every circuit before they watch the latest episode of Yellowstone. They simply turn on the TV and sit there and watch it without an inkling of a thought of how the signal gets there and all those pixels dance around the screen to entertain them. Then they turn around and risk hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars they've worked so hard for, analyzing asset protection strategies until a savvy pack of lawyers sneak up on them like a herd of lions on a baby gazelle and eat them alive while they sit there dumbfounded. So don't get trapped in the paralysis of analysis. Take action while you still can and rely on experienced experts. Safe and secure. Jonathan now has the meat of his assets in an offshore trust. Wham! A lawsuit is filed against him. He's a young doctor who is being hit with a challenging medical malpractice lawsuit that far exceeds his insurance limits. He knows he may lose the case, and he also knows, however, that he has protected his assets in his Cook Islands Trust. His local courts do not have jurisdiction over foreign trustees, so taking them from him is hard, if not nearly impossible to do. The most he stands to lose from the lawsuit is what is readily available domestically. Jonathan made the right choice. To consider another point, you have an asset protection tool available to you if you are a business owner as well. This is especially the case if you have prudently formed an entity, a corporation or LLC, rather than remaining a sole proprietor. Now, these entities do not protect against professional malpractice, such as a physician removing the wrong kidney, but they can offer protection against employee and contract liability. The Cook Islands Trust. Back to personal trust. The Cook Islands don't even recognize foreign judgments. Say a court is interested in seizing your assets and they make a phone call to the trust company. The most they will get is someone who will turn a deaf ear to them who is not under their jurisdiction. Essentially, what the trustee is saying, if they get a call like this, is, sorry, I cannot help you. It's my legal obligation to protect my client and their assets. Your courts do not have any say-so here. Again, this is perfectly legal, and you can expect the trustee to carefully manage your assets only when you get into legal trouble. And when that's over, they simply put the ball back into your court. Misinformation from unscrupulous creditors on the internet. There's a lot of negative information on the internet about hiding assets in domestic or offshore trusts, by forming business entities, etc. The creditors publish most of this information in order to throw you off course. You're likely to find these financial predators refer to people who make these intelligent actions as scoundrels or deceptive. It's clear what their goal is, though. They want you unprotected so they can have easy access to your money. Things become much easier for them when they find a defendant with easy-to-reach domestic assets. Most trial lawyers don't produce. They take, and they want a payday. And the way they can get one is by taking from those of us who do produce. That said, it's important to be very skeptical when reading these persuasive, self-serving, and even cruel articles you may find on the internet to try to dissuade you from protecting or hiding your assets in a divorce or other lawsuit. Remember when we discussed opening trusts and forming protective entities before legal trouble? What these creditors who post their dirty laundry all over the web are saying is this: yes, it's legal, but we don't like it. Well, too bad. Act now. Consumers are not at the mercy of creditors. That is, unless they allow themselves to be. Therefore, it is extremely important to start the process of setting up an asset protection trust, if appropriate for your situation right now. Then form the other asset protection entities that suit your need. Beat them to the punch. You're outsmarting them, and you're doing so legally. Those with the means to sue the little guy will stop at nothing to get to your assets, to line their pockets with your money. If you have questions about protecting your assets, feel free to give us a call at 1-954-400-1050 or visit assetprotectionplanners.com and fill out a free consultation form. Please like, subscribe, and share this video. See you next time. This is The Business Guy.